Michael, did Shane Watson take up with Mickey after that he had a problem with the way you guys were dealing with David Warner's issue?
No, he certainly didn't. Look, it's irrelevant, I guess, firstly, how the leadership group found out about the incident. And no, Shane certainly didn't take up with Mickey that he had a problem with how we, as a leadership group, dealt with it. That allegation is completely false. Look, I think with all this stuff, there's a process. I think it starts on the ground with the leadership group, and we made a call to not allow Davey to play the game that was, I guess, after we found out on the Monday the next day, until obviously there was a hearing that had to take place. So, it goes from us to Cricket Australia, then there's a hearing, and then the commissioner, I guess, at the hearing made his judgment, and now Davey deals with the consequences. Was
there any point in your mind that people in the Australian team underestimated the seriousness of David's incident?
No, I don't think so. I certainly don't think so. I think everybody in the group knows what's required of them as an Australian cricketer. They know that what had happened that night was certainly not acceptable by anybody in the team, and I think you heard that loud and clear from Davey yesterday.
Were the players that were there that night, did they volunteer this information to yourself and leadership group and people in the team? Did they?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's irrelevant how we found out, to be honest. I don't think it makes any difference. I think the facts are the facts. David's behaviour was unacceptable, and we've dealt with that.
Shane, is he disappointed with the way that things are coming out? What's his reaction been to the story? Because I guess after him being stood down in India, people have sort of made this link. So what's his reaction been to?
Yeah, you'll have to ask Shane that question. But I think all the players are disappointed with David's behaviour. Everybody acknowledges that he's let the team down. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I don't think Shane's in any different situation to any of the other players.
As a former vice captain, is he involved in the leadership group? Or?
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah. Did he feel hard done by, in terms of the consistency of how things were handled in India to hear?
Again, you'll have to ask Shane that question, but he certainly hasn't spoken to me or any of the other leadership group members about him not being satisfied with Dave's punishment. That's for sure. I think if you look at Dave's punishment, I think it's very consistent with the process we went through in India and the result of what's happened in India.
Yeah. James Sutherland spoke in Australia earlier and said that the other guys that were there were obviously not as responsible, but there's a responsibility on them as well. And do you feel that as well, that they've sort of let the team down as well?
Look, I think there's an expectation in this team that you know your limits, your time and place to go for a few drinks. And I think what James has certainly said, and I will echo that, after losing a game like we did against England, to be out at that hour celebrating or carrying on like we were celebrating, especially with the opposition, is probably not the right time or place to be having a few drinks. So every player, is aware of that. And like I've said before, I think everything in moderation. I think, a big part of why you love playing cricket for Australia is because you celebrate your success. You work hard together as a team, but when you do well, you do celebrate together. But you need to have a reason to celebrate. And right now, we certainly haven't got that.
So the team, do you think, now has to work hard to show to cricket fans, I suppose, that they're serious about playing for their country?
I think every player is extremely serious. I think you see them every day at training working their backside off. Like I said yesterday in the press conference, I think there's just been, Davey's made a couple of errors in judgment over the past couple of months, and he knows he has to continue to work hard. And we as a leadership group, continue to realise that when things like this pop up, you've got to stamp on them hard. We're not going to lower our standards, that's for sure. This team is going in one direction. We want to get back to the top. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and we're not willing to take a step backwards.
And just my final question, George Bailey, after the game on Wednesday, described the incident as very minor. What's your reaction to that? And do you think it was a minor incident?
Yeah, I didn't hear George say that, and I'm not sure if George knew everything at that stage. So I certainly don't want to be doing the wrong thing by George. I think he is not only a wonderful guy but a fantastic leader, and his focus would have been wholly and solely on making sure the boys stay up after the game. That's for sure. But no, I think as we've seen, it's a pretty big incident for the team and for Davey, hence the consequences.
Is there an issue with the culture in the team as you see it, or is there something that needs to be corrected there?
Look, we continue to work on the culture. Like I say, we have very high standards in this team, and we won't lower those standards.
And just going to the cricket, Australia, must-win match against Sri Lanka coming up. Sri Lanka have won quite a lot of the matches against Australia, done quite well in the recent past. Does that give them a bit of an advantage going in?
I think our record in one-day cricket is exceptional against Sri Lanka, so I think we can take a lot of confidence out of that. No doubt Sri Lanka will be on a high after their big win last night against England, but I think all the boys are looking forward to this game.